Hello everyone, thank you for joining. Welcome to this new live stream that I'm having a go at, where I'm going to maybe do a series called Should You Read It? And it's going to be me just looking at trades and other types of stories and recommending if it's something that you should be reading. So thank you for joining. So I am going to be reading, well, I have read, I'm going to be reviewing Once and Future Volume 3, The Parliament of Magpies, written by Kieron GILLEN, drawn by Dan MORA and coloured by Tamra BONVILLAIN. Hell of a name, great name. So yes, so I'm just going to crack on to start reviewing straight away. This was definitely better than Volume 2. It's not that I didn't like Volume 2, but it was just very fight heavy. For anyone who has read it, it's basically centered on this whole battle with Beowulf, and then you just have a little type of cliffhanger at the end with Merlin as well. I know other stuff does happen, but Beowulf is the main focus of that whole trade there, that whole arc. But yes, the whole ending on Volume 2 with Boris Johnson was rubbish, but they really rectified it in this story. Like the use of Boris and why he was there and what was going on, and all that kind of stuff. So this story, it starts basically with Grant just having a really nice chill time at the home in Avon, and it kind of just kicks off straight away with all these magpies come in, and she goes, okay, there's 6 of you, like one for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for girl, 3 for a boy, and then she gets like 6 is for gold, but then she goes, what about the old way, where she says 6 is hell, and all the magpies just start squawking hell, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, this is where we're gonna go. That was a really cool start, a way to initiate this new arc, and it was fun. And then it kind of all just shoots off that way. Then you get the whole gang comes back together. Amy has said that the ending was a letdown in Volume 2. However, the artwork for him in this volume was great. Yes, I will talk about that later on, about Boris and the artwork there. I think the main focus, well, for me, the thing that I focused more on this story was the fact that it was all about the intertwining and the knowledge of all these different, mythological stories and legendary tales and stuff like that. And everything starts to seem to intertwine and combine with each other and get really complicated and just a bit messy. If you had like a corkboard full of clues and string everywhere, then it would be a mess. It would be a mess. But I think that's the kind of vibe that it's going for, that you can insert yourself into many different stories. Like Duncan is Percival and he's acting as Beowulf, so he is living these 2 stories at the moment. So you do see kind of these 2 stories intertwine, and then you kind of get this short introduction of a 3rd story with the Green Knight at the start of the story. So they're all looking for Mary, Nimue, or Elaine, or Guinevere, whatever you want to call it, whatever story she's following. That's a good example, because she's following 4 different stories, and it's just crazy. So we get the Green Knight, and then you have Rose. She kind of inserts herself into that story with the Green Knight. So he always asks, do you want to play a game? And she knows the story. It's between Gawain and the Green Knight, and he does play a game. And it's confusing. So they play this game, and it's like she kills him, and then a year later, the Green Knight, comes looking for Gawain to kill Rose. So this is a year-long preparation story. Now, I don't know how quickly the story is going to progress. So when will we see that year? We know it's New Year's Eve in this story. Like this whole book takes part in one day pretty much. It's a very fast-paced story, but fantastic nonetheless. Are we gonna get to that point where we see another New Year's Eve, and people who have read this and maybe remember this thing are just gonna go, ooh, the Green Knight's going to come, because they're going to have to keep it in mind. They're going to have to prepare for this kind of stuff. And if they don't prepare, and if they do forget, then Rose might die. So it's that kind of, struggle, that they may face in the future, which is really cool. The fact that Kieron GILLEN is planning for this kind of future storyline. So yeah, that'll be really good. What else? I've got a load of notes here. So we also see that Mary, Nimue, Guinevere, Elaine, they're all the same person, and this story is quite revolved around her. In terms of, she knows that Rose and Duncan are dating, and they initially meet because she's holding her at gunpoint in her apartment, in her flat, and just go in, you're dating my son, I'll tell you my story, you tell me yours about Gran and Duncan and that kind of thing. And it's a good way for them to meet. But and then she tells us the story of how she gave birth to, I can't remember his name. You've got Percival, and you've got the one who gets the Grail, his brother. Everyone knows who I'm talking about if you've read the story. But yes, she tells a story of how he was born, or how he was conceived, and she wanted to make him better than Percival, than Duncan. And so she tells the story that she actually summoned Lancelot, inserted herself into this new story, made herself into Guinevere, and then conceived this new baby who is, supposed to be better and more inserted into the story, more likely to get the Grail. Galahad, that's the one. Thank you very much. Yeah, so Galahad is the one. So it was that story, the fact that she had to put herself into a boiling cauldron or a boiling bath and physically had to boil herself in order to summon Lancelot to be saved from the boiling cauldron, to then conceive this baby better than her previous child. She's a bit tapped. I mean, it's not like, it's not a saying, is it? It's definitely not. But it's a kind of heartbreaking thing. She shows you her chest and her arms, and they're burnt from this, it's been years and years on, so they haven't healed. So that's how they meet, and so you learn a bit of Mary's backstory, and then coming to Lancelot, when he is summoned by Gran and Duncan. When he's summoned, they do the whole boiling bath again, but they throw a photograph of Mary into the cauldron, and Lancelot is summoned, and he feels tricked, and then he starts, where is she? But it starts in French, but then learns English. Where is she? Tell me who she is. Where can I find her? But the character design on Lancelot was absolutely fantastic. I think he was basically, hey Joblot, thanks for joining. He was basically the way I kind of saw it was a suit, but it was like a fish tank, because there's fish, you can see there's fish in his chest plate there, and they're not stagnant. So is he just made of water, and he has fins? And it's just the character design and the kind of imagination that goes into designing and reimagining these characters from old stories and myths is fantastic. And I don't know how much Kieron GILLEN and Dan MORA work together with this kind of thing, but however this was conceived, and all of the character designs of all of the mythical creatures and people that come up into the story is absolutely brilliant. And it was very cool, and I really appreciate it. But yeah, Lancelot was so cool. I think you got hey Lee, thanks for joining. Lancelot gave us really good superhero vibes. And yes, he was a bit angry and mad and confused at the start, but then once he realized, Galahad, that was Galahad, and Galahad is his son, and the Shadow Secretary and his little team were trying to kill him, and then all of a sudden, instantly, super fast speed, Lancelot comes over and just slices and slashes away all of these bullets in next to no time, and he says, None of you are worthy. And then, that was so cool, that kind of moment. Hey, Alid, thanks for joining. That moment was so cool. Very, very cool character Lancelot was. Like, it was kind of tricky to decide if he was a good guy or a bad guy. The fact that the main characters are seeing all of these stories unfold in front of them, and they're also inserted into these stories is tricky to deal with, I bet. Like, how are they perceiving and conceiving, perceiving this information, we also meet the Shadow Secretary. So the Shadow Secretary, they work for the government and they deal with the Accord. So whenever Gran asks Rose to kind of like, we need stuff, pretty much, Rose goes and contacts the Accord, and they have a blank check and they get signed and they get whatever they want to help whatever they want. But too much stuff has been happening over this whole story, and the Shadow Secretary had to step in with a team of people. But then we didn't know as well that one of the the SWAT guys that joined the Shadow Secretary, he was also under orders from Boris Johnson himself, Mr. Prime Minister, to relay everything back to him. So even though he was signed, sworn to secrecy, to not repeat or talk about anything that is happening, that he's dealing with right then, he is gonna betray him, and he's gonna tell Boris everything, and that's what pretty much happened. But the introduction of the Shadow Secretary and this kind of thing, to know that there is this body, one person really just keeping an eye on what this group is up to, what Gran and Duncan and Rose are doing, and how much chaos they're causing, and what's going on. What is the name of the SWAT guy? Was that important? Was that an important thing? Amy's saying, don't forget the name of the SWAT guy. What is the name of the SWAT guy? I have no idea. Maybe, was it important? I'll think about it. But yes, his name is James. Why is that important? Why is James important? His name is James. There we go. But yeah, guys, if you've read this as well, tell me your thoughts in the comments as well, and we talk about it at the end. So this story was just insane. I think we had the combination of 3 different Arthurian type stories going on, and it was really fun to see how Kieron GILLEN was able to weave it all together and make it coherent and readable and legible and understandable, and it was just very, very clever of him. So Amy thinks it's implying he's James Bond. Is that what you think? That's cool. All right. Hopefully that, if we get any 007 vibes, that'd be very cool. I'm just trying to think now. In terms of intertwining the stories, we see, Duncan is also acting as Beowulf. So we see this massive dragon, this like acid breathing dragon, not fire. I think it was acid. It was all green. That was a very cool part of the story. Again, a very small part, but quite big towards the end. Where Rose. Okay, this is hard, right? Lancelot kills the dragon. Rose saves the dragon. Rose becomes friends with dragon. Rose, Duncan, and Gran ride dragon to stop Galahad from getting the Grail, which they succeed. But I'm trying not to say too much. So yeah, that's the story. Okay, I really enjoyed this. Okay, all of the character designs in this were absolutely fantastic. All the art is consistent and brilliant and on point, and very defined and just lovely. And Dan Mora did a fantastic job on the lines in this, and Tamra BONVILLAIN did a fantastic thing colouring this book. My favourite part about the colours of this book is the fact that whenever there is something magical happening or about to happen, everything goes slightly orange, and you get those little circles of colour floating around. I can show you at the very start of this book here. Gran is having a very chill time. You see there we got a lot of like blues and browns and just nice normal colors. And then on the next page, you know, straight away she notices everything goes a bit pink and orange, and you see like the floating little balls of color there. And you know, that's a fantastic indication for a reader to know that, you know, these things are happening or about to happen, and it's like, you know, you're like, oh, strap in, something's going to go down, and it's great. And I think what, you know, the one other thing that I really enjoy about this whole series is the fact that these characters have drastically changed since the very beginning, since issue 1. You know, Gran was just like this, you know, woman who wanted to calm down and retire. Duncan was just like this timid, nervous, rugby playing hulk of a man. And then Rose, you know, we didn't know a lot about Rose, but you know, we've seen her grow and get used to and into this kind of dynamic of the three that they are. But yeah, this was an absolutely fantastic read. I really enjoyed it. I don't have volume 1 and 2 anymore. I sold them because I'm receiving the deluxe edition very soon, so I thought I don't want to double up. So I'm going to be getting the deluxe version very soon. I'm a massive fan of this series. This is the series that pretty much started this YouTube channel, so I have a lot to owe to it. But yeah, so yeah, okay. Overall, I'm going to give this a score. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. That's it, 8 out of 10. This was absolutely fantastic. I mean, for me, you know, it's magical, it's intrinsical. I have to think, which is brilliant with the book for me. Characters and, you know, the designs of them are fantastic. The way that Kieron GILLEN writes about this and weaves everything together is absolutely brilliant and, you know, and commendable, and I love it. Yeah, Alid also says he can't wait for the deluxe edition. I can't wait either. I haven't gone for the slipcase. I don't find any point in a slipcase if it's coming in a deluxe edition, so I've just got the hardcover. But the cover of that looks stunning, and I cannot wait to get it in my hands in November. And I'll do a video, I'll show it off as well. If anyone wants to see that, I'll do that too. But yes, this is it. That has been me. That's been my review of this. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comments, or send me a message on Instagram at Scott's Shelf, or on Twitter at Scott's Shelf YT, because Scott's Shelf was taken, weirdly enough. So yeah, that's been me. Thank you very much. Do make sure to check out the rest of the stuff on my channel. Don't forget, I've got Comic Airwaves coming up on the 31st at 8:30 p.m. And Amy and I will be doing an auction as well, our next charity auction on the 8th of August. We haven't decided what auction to do it for yet. We might actually do an Instagram live maybe tonight and get that sorted, and so we can get a charity chosen, and then things can... we can get, you know, a ball rolling and stuff like that. So yeah, thank you very much for joining. I will see you around the channels, around on YouTube. So yeah, thank you very much, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.